There's a lot of videos out there for mothers, you know, tips for newborns, tips for new moms, you know, things that I did for my baby to help him sleep, blah, blah, blah. But I don't see any videos about all of that for mothers that suffer with a chronic illness. We deserve medals of all that we go through on top of having a newborn, and maybe add other stuff also. That's not talked about, not that I've seen. So this video is a part of a mini series where I'll be breaking down and sharing some tips from one person with chronic illness to another in like real life situations. This one will be about my newborn, my last born, my third child, who is also very colicky. So I have a lot of tricks up my sleeves that help me get through it on top of the illness that I live with on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully these will be helpful for you. Next episodes will be related to similar things, like holding down a career with a chronic illness, keeping a healthy marriage with a chronic illness. I don't know. But this is just a part of a mini series, and this is the first one to kick it off. Probably the hardest one for me. So the tips actually did wonders, and hopefully they will for you too. My last born was unlike any of my first two. He requires 24/7 mama. Doesn't want to live without mama. Loves mama, obsessed with mama, clings to mama, colicky. My first two were not. They were very independent, slept great, didn't need me, would play on their own, but not my youngest son. So that is probably the hardest child I've had, living with pain and chronic illness. When you have a colicky baby, you can't get sleep, and those first few months are just so brutal. So I really had to rely on a lot of things, and for my son in particular, and it's nice because I kind of have a variety of different tips for the majority of moms that you'll run across. Moms with colicky kids, moms without colicky kids. So there's a lot of information I hope I'm going to cram into this video for mothers particularly that suffer with a chronic issue. So the first thing with the colicky baby, they just want you, and that alone is so precious to me as a mother. The first thing my son did when he came out and I gave birth is he just wanted to cuddle, and he didn't want to leave my side. Like, I would sleep with him in my arms in the hospital. He did not want to lay down anywhere else but in my arms. Eating, the same thing. He was glued to me, and that lasted for the first couple months, and it was brutal, but I got through it with some great tips that I actually figured out all on my own from trial and error. Take every minute that you can grab where the baby's sleeping, where he's distracted. Grab that minute and savor it. One thing that I highly recommend is a carrier. My favorite carrier of all time is Coney. I'm not giving him attention. See, even after 4 months, they still require 24/7 attention from their mom. Carrying him, I wore him everywhere I went. So if I had to do other things like clean the house, cook, and all that stuff, I don't have family nearby. So unlike many moms, I didn't have help on top of a chronic illness. Oh my God, give me Mother of the Year award. And there's so many women that are like that. When a colicky baby is first born, they are glued to you. Every time you set them down, they'll cry. Even if you're holding them, they'll cry. And that will drive any mother completely bonkers. Not because she's angry at the baby, but because hearing your child screaming and crying just affects the mother so much emotionally. They feel hopeless. They feel helpless. It's a horrible state of mind. I've been there. I went through it. What really helped was breastfeeding whenever he wanted it, constantly if need be. Sleeping with him, we definitely slept together in the bed, and there's a technique that I use. I'm not even going to go into it because there's a lot of moms that'll disagree, but you can research that. I did it. That was the only thing that really helped me get any kind of sleep during the first couple months. Carrying him, like I showed you, the carrier, that was definitely a lifesaver, even though it was painful on my back. I have a lot of pain. It was horrible on my neck, but every night my husband would massage my neck with CBD oil, and I relied a lot on the Kratom tea, and that helped me get through it, especially when the flare-ups would come after wearing him for a full day. I would try to give my body some breaks, but sometimes that just wasn't doable. But I would suffer through it because that's what us mothers do. We're resilient, we're hardworking for the care of our children, or at least mothers should be. When he was first born, for the first couple months, of course, he would fall asleep in my arms and I would lay him down. And once I realized his neck was super strong, I would put him on his stomach and he would sleep so much better on his tummy. Of course, that wasn't right away, but for a few weeks after his birth, as his neck got stronger and it was very obvious that it was very strong, that's when we transitioned to that, and it did wonders for his sleep. He also had a reflux. He still deals with reflux, and he's about 4.5 months. So it's like one thing after another. Elevated his mattress. I put a little wedge in just to prop it up. You could put a pillow, you could put a blanket. It really doesn't have to be that propped up. As long as he's not laying completely horizontal, that is the main thing. So just a little bit of tilt is key. And we still have that in his bed, even now, 4.5 months later. He still relies on that. We don't overfeed him. We give him multiple small feedings a day because of that reflux. And that just helps him overall, the gas problem and all that. And there was only one formula that would do good for him, and that was Gerber Good Start Comforting Probiotics. It's like a gray and purple container. It is the only that did wonders. And I swear we tried every single formula you could think of. We went to AR formula that was, that would thicken up. We did nasty ones, I forgot what it was called, but it had like no milk products in it, and it was stinky and nasty. I'll probably put the link here once I research it and remind myself what it was called. But the only thing that would work is the Gerber one. It just clicked. The minute he had his first bottle of that, I was in heaven. He looked like he was happy. That was the first nice meal he enjoyed. So finding the right formula is very important, and it might take a lot of trial and error. So we had tried like over 10 different formulas. It was exhausting. But once you find that one, as a mother, you're very, very happy. Meanwhile, I have a full-time career. I have a business to run. I have an advocacy that I'm a part of. I have a farmhouse. I have other kids that were distance learning. And I have a husband. All of this stuff all at the same time. So seriously, us mothers, we don't get enough credit for all that we juggle, especially these times. So on top of all of that, I put myself on the way back burner just to have my family surviving and functioning. With a newborn, with no family that's local at all, I had barely any help. I had my sister-in-law that came over for a week when my son was first born, and it was a blessing. But after that, I was on my own. No help at all. I've never had babysitters at my beck and call whenever I wanted it for my kids. Never enjoyed that from my grandma or grandpa or any of that. So if you have that, you're blessed. So all that juggling, distance learning, especially with a newborn, and chronic pain was brutal. I relied on the Kratom tea and CBD lotions and creams heavily. And yoga, it was my godsend. Stretching every morning, staying hydrated so my joints and everything stayed fluid. Turmeric does wonders for that as well. So I highly recommend that as a mother. If you're dealing with joint pain and all that, that is one thing to take. It will make a difference, but you have to take it for a couple weeks before you'll notice if it does or not for you. Pretty sure it will. It's very, very healthy herb. When my son was about 3 months, we bought him a weighted blanket. Now we would put him on his stomach to sleep and have the weighted blanket on top, and he immediately would pass out and he would sleep all night. That's what it took for him to feel comforted, and it did wonders. Elevated his bed a little bit, Bought a weighted blanket for him. I wouldn't cover, you know, it wouldn't go too high. I went right below so he can move his neck around. Right below his shoulder blades is where the weighted blanket would stop. So I highly recommend that. And I've not heard that anywhere. I just figured it out on my own. Like, maybe I should just get a weighted blanket because that's comforting to kids. Maybe it'll work on a colicky baby. It does. Entertainment. The last thing I'll say for my colicky child. He gets bored fast. I have to switch it up before he gets in a really bad attitude. So I have like playstations throughout my house. I'll have one PlayStation for one activity and I'll make sure the other one's prepped. So we're constantly moving those around the house if someone wants to sit down and there's a PlayStation there. So that's what's key for us in keeping my youngest son entertained at all times. So if he starts to feel fussy in one section, we'll move into a different PlayStation and then onwards into a circle. That really does wonders. He takes a lot of naps. He really needs sleep. Babies actually do need a lot of sleep than what most actually get because moms are so busy running around, they're taking them. But now with COVID, we're all home. So we're realizing that our babies actually need a lot of sleep. So he would take 7 to 8 naps a day, even up till 4 months. Once he hit the 4-month mark, he started tapering down to about 4 or 5 a day. But even then, that's a lot because he actually needs it with his brain development, especially through that 4-month regression. It was brutal. I'm just right now at the tail end of it. And 2 other kids didn't have that. It's a thing. Didn't know about it until my last child. I really can't stress that enough. Get your child to love sleeping. Get your child to love napping. Put them down when they're awake. Don't put them down while they're sleeping once they're past a certain age. Newborns, of course, you're gonna put them down when they're asleep. I think it was around 3 months, maybe 2, where I would put him down wide awake. Of course, he was sleepy, but he wasn't close to being, passing out. So that way he learns. At that age, at 2, they're not able to self-soothe. So I would give him a pacifier that really helped with that kind of soothing thing. And then towards 4 months, when they start to realize things and their brain development peaks at that stage, and then they're able to self-soothe, it's even more important. And by the time we got to that, he was already a pro at sleeping. The minute he realized how to self-soothe, I had no problem at all. It was perfect. And that's because I've always trained my kids to sleep well. I've focused on their sleeping. I recommend this awesome lady. She lives in the Portland metro area where I'm at. I'll put her information down below. She helps you with sleeping. She'll teach you, she'll recommend something. Look her up, Google her, research her, call her. She's amazing. Here's one PlayStation. Here's another PlayStation. You go over here. I have the other PlayStation. Then this one is my movable PlayStation. Throw it on the couch while he watches a little show, and I'll show you and share with you some that he actually loves. And here's another movable PlayStation that I usually will put on the rug depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing. So he has tons, but that's exactly what he needs to be happy. And the brain development is so crazy, guys. It's amazing how fast these kids grow, and their brain development is so important. So switching it up a bit really helps. It helps with, the baby's attitude. It helps just overall. So naturally, I highly recommend YouTube for a plethora of newborn channels that work with the sensory. And I started providing this for him about a month old when he actually noticed stuff and his eyes would focus. This does wonders. So I have my own login for him. And I would highly recommend following Little Baby Bum, Little Peach Sensory, even Scenic Relaxation for the whole family is just amazing. Tiny Adventures, and Hey Bear Sensory. These are all really amazing videos and YouTubers that create this stuff. I swear, the children love it, the babies. Of course, this is just for newborns, and obviously as he gets older, we'll move on to other things, but I highly recommend those channels. I'll link them also down in the description if you don't remember what I'm saying here. And definitely give them a shot. That it does make a huge difference. And I will put one of those sensory YouTube videos on while he's sitting at this PlayStation, and I'll give him his binky, which brings me to the next topic. There are some moms that are just anti-binky, but when you have a colicky baby, sometimes that is what you need. If you can't have them glued to you, just cave and give him the binky. You can cross that path of training him to not need the binky once he gets over that colicky stage. Then you can go through that. It'll be so much easier than being anti-binky during the colicky stage. You need something for yourself, and it's comforting to the baby. So I don't know, I don't understand why these moms are against the binkies, but they're out there, and I've never understood it. My first two didn't care for it, but my son, my youngest one, needs it. And if I realize he's addicted to it later on in the next couple months, then we'll cross that road. But right now, it's a godsend. I let him sleep with it. I let him chill on the couch with it. Sometimes it's a requirement just to have a little bit of a break as a mom. And it is soothing to him. He enjoys that. And kids really do. They like that sucking. It's kind of a soothing thing for them. So try not to be anti-binky if you are. I would research it because I'm sure there's other better material out there on why you should consider binkies. So I would search that up. But it's been a godsend for me and my colicky one. So that's it for the first edition of this mini series where I'll be sharing with you a video during, for different kind of lifestyle situations if you're one that lives with chronic illness. This one was, of course, about newborns or colicky babies with mothers that live with a chronic illness, and some tips that I have for you. So hopefully these will be helpful. I send you all my love and support, and I pray that you will just get through it. It is really hard, and it seems like it lasts forever, but it doesn't last. It goes faster than you know. And then eventually you'll be looking back and yeah, that was some hard shit, but you got through it. And just that precious baby in your arms, that's all that matters. So everything else can just wait if it needs to. All that matters is that human life that relies solely on you. So much love to you, and hopefully some of these tips will help you. Especially, this is like the videos focused on those that are suffering with a chronic illness on top of dealing with a colicky baby. People don't realize we deserve a freaking medal. It is hard work. So I'm right there with you. I got it through. I got through it. So will you. So reach out to me if you have any questions. Of course, I can't give any medical advice. This is purely some recommendations based on personal experience. So don't ask me for any medical advice. And some of the things and traditions that I use for my kids might not be recommended by medical providers and other people. So take it for what it's worth. I'm just telling you what's worked for our family. I'm a mother of 3, so this isn't my first rodeo. And we all have our own stories and experiences on some of these traditions. So take it or leave it. I hope some of it will be helpful for you. And hang in there, mamas or daddas.